Hello and welcome to the 11 Steps to Sirius JoY audio lecture series. I'm your heartfelt host and Sensei to Sirius JoY, Christopher Witecki. This is episode 9, titled Step 7, I Sense. In this lecture series, we are building up our human pyramid of consciousness, which I affectionately call the 11 Steps to Sirius JoY. For when you have all of your states of awareness aligned to the heart, you will find you law of attract everything your heart is looking for and more. Each of these steps in the process, I align to a character in our soul, in our inner self, that I call the royal cast of characters. And so far, I have been introducing you to them step by step. Let's go over real quickly what we've learned. We know step 0, I protect, is the royal executioner, and this is the part of you that must hold space and time for what you want to manifest. Then along comes step 1, I love, the king or queen, which is your heart. And when your heart loves something and wants it now, you are to proceed to step 2. Step 2 is the royal baby, and it is our feelings and our emotional side. And if the royal baby is feeling it and feeling well nurtured, then you move on to step 3. Step 3 is I believe, the part of us that's writing our story, the royal scribe. And based on what we feel and love, we write up the manuscript of what we want to manifest and fall in love with the story. Step 4 is I belong, the royal instigator. And the royal instigator will draw the map of what we want and will law of attract the first solution. Step 5 is our thought process, I think, which I call the court jester. And the court jester basically edits our manuscript, analyzes the maps, and takes inventory of what has law of attracted. Then we move on to step 6, I receive, our inner justice of the peace, and our inner judge judges whether or not what we have attracted is fair or not, and in what the queen or king wants in our heart. If it is, we then move on to our next step, step 7. In fact, once you are open up to receive, the first thing you will receive is step 7, your own spiritual guidance. Step 7 is the I sense state of awareness. It is known as Neptune in the planets and Pisces in the astrology on Earth. It is the Holy Spirit inside of us incarnated. This is your spiritual advisor inside of you and the connection to your higher self. So for this reason, I call the inner personality our royal oracle. Now you may think, Royal Oracle? Oh, come on, Witecki, I had you with all these characters until you said Oracle. Well, the truth is, Oracle is exactly what we are. Every human being, and I mean every human being on Earth, has a psychic connection to their spirit 100% of the time, factory made. Everyone running around the planet, including the plants and animals, are 100% psychic and plugged in. Some people have become aware of this truth. Most people have not. But before we talk about connection, let's talk about what the Holy Spirit is. I believe we come from a universal source of love, and that universal source of love has fractioned off to create what I call an aspect of God, and that aspect of God is you, your soul, your personal story. Your Holy Spirit is actually the host of this current experience. Your Holy Spirit is the one making this entire earthly event happen every day. People think that the soul is inside the body, but it's actually the opposite. The body is inside the soul. The soul creates a spiritual bubble that the body grows inside, kind of like an amniotic sac happens when we grow a baby on earth inside the mother's tummy. So when you connect to your psychic awareness, you're not really going up so much as you are shifting your focus from the inside to the outside sac around it. It is the energy outside of us. Everywhere outside of us is Holy Spirit. Your higher self is the same vibration as your lower self. The difference is how fast the energy is vibrating. So what we call life and reality is actually a sleeping part of the soul, or a slowed down version of the same essence. You can almost imagine it as you're in the kingdom of heaven or the queendom of heaven, and in order to come on earth, the soul deliberately gets its foot to fall asleep. So the soul slows down a piece of itself in order to crystallize into flesh and have this earthly experience. Now that's from the soul's perspective. From the human perspective, it's actually the opposite. If you're living down in the foot, everything in reality is really loud. Nothing's falling asleep at all. And we're actually having a hard time hearing the sleeping part of us. I like to use music as the example. The low notes in music, such as the sounds you get from bass and drums or the left side of the keys on a piano keyboard, the low notes are reality. We live pretty much in the low notes right now. The high notes are our high spiritual vibration, which would come out in the sounds of flutes or violins, or the right side keys of the piano. So step 7, our eye sense perception, is the very highest note our soul sings. And step 11, which we haven't spoken about, which is I become, is the lowest note, or what we call reality. So spirituality is literally wired from step 7 to 11. We really go from 7 to 11. Can you believe that? Living in step 11, we hear all the bass notes. In fact, the problem is that the bass notes drown out the high notes. Psychic energy is the same way. The lower notes of reality and all the 5 senses of the bodies and all the things we think about, all these lower notes drown out the information of our higher psychic self. This is why human beings have not discovered that they are in fact all psychic and all connected to universe. So you could say that psychic information is broadcast across the universe kind of like a super tweeter speaker in a huge galactic speaker system. The inner royal oracle is basically a highly tuned eardrum, an eardrum designed to listen to your soul's vibration and story. And the oracle is always listening, whether you pay attention or not. The biggest problems people have about their inner psychic voice is they don't know where to look for their inner oracle or how to listen to their inner oracle. And if they do hear something come up, they don't believe what the voice is telling them is true. Now, the cool thing about spirit is that it's connected to God, the universe, and everything. So if you can listen to your soul, you can listen in on any soul, anywhere, at any time. You can speak to any dead person, any ascended master, anyone in the company of heaven, anytime. You also have access to psychically connect to all animals, all plants, all trees, and even the rocks will communicate to you on Channel 7. Spirit world is like a wired psychic internet. As soon as you truly connect, you will be truly received by the rest of the universe. Obviously, this is what professional oracles do. They listen in on other spiritual stories using their own inner oracle as the modem. One day, every human being will be aware of their inner oracle, step 7, and this is part of the human enlightenment. When that happens, people will rarely ask anyone else to read them. Why would you use someone else's psychic internet when you have your own? In fact, every human has a psychic antenna for a very good reason. Remember, your reality in this lifetime is actually a child of your soul. You came here, aware of it or not, to do the soul's business, not the egos, not the smartasses, not even the inner babies. You're here to follow out the mission of the soul, I sense. The real reason we have Step 7 built into our spiritual architecture is so that you can check in with your own parent, your higher self, your soul, to ensure that what you are manifesting or about to do is in line with your destiny. Destiny, in my opinion, is what the soul intends to experience on planet Earth. So there's only 2 places that knows your destiny inside of you. The first place is your heart, the king or queen. It knows inside of you what your destiny is. And the other place is your inner oracle. It also has access to your personal spiritual destiny. In fact, one cannot really trust the heart without the oracle's affirmation, and one cannot trust what the oracle says without the heart's affirmation. This is kind of a spiritual balance of power built into being human that keeps people from going astray. Many people steer off course because their heart wants something, but they don't bother to check in with their inner oracle on whether it's on the menu for this lifetime or not. Your heart will love many, many, many people, but only your soul will tell you which one is right for you in this lifetime. The heart has an endless appetite, and that endless appetite must be balanced with what your higher self tells you is appropriate for this space-time. In my Sensei opinion, one must get approval for everything and anything from our higher self. Without your soul's approval, you will not have certain feelings to move forward and move ahead. Without your soul's approval, you may go off course, and oftentimes, what sabotages our manifestation is not the world, it's our higher self pulling us back on track by crashing down the sandcastle our ego or mind once built. Once you have your soul's approval, you will have the faith, literally faith, to move ahead with what you want. And if you stay in constant contact with your soul, this is known as Holy Communion. When you constantly and continually consult your soul for every little thing, you are in holy communion with the soul, and you are in holy communion, therefore, with God Universe. So the big question is pretty clear. How the heck do we do that, Sensei? How do you listen to your I-Sense state of awareness? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Let's take it from the bottom, shall we, and review the 11 steps of Sirius JoY with the intention of listening to step 7. Say you want to manifest something in your life like a new car. The first thing we do is we hold space and protect. We hold space for this new car. We hold space for the possibility that this can actually happen. Now, it turns out that many people are not clear in their psychic awareness because they did not do step 0, I protect. If you don't create a sacred space to listen to your I sense will be foggy. You won't be sure if what you're hearing is correct. And that's not because it is or isn't correct. It's because you feel unprotected and vulnerable all the way down at step 0, and so your soul pyramid is unstable. Then comes step 1, I love. You must fill your heart with love, really, to be able to connect to your spirit. Remember, your heart is one of the areas that knows your destiny. Your heart is the part of you that calls bullshit on certain things. And so your heart must be awake and active to listen to step 7. That is the king or the queen. Then step 2 is I feel. We'll talk about this later, but you need to be able to feel your feelings for your psychic awareness to work. Step 3, I believe. You must believe that this whole psychic thing is true. Universe is all about free will. If you don't believe in ghosts, you won't see ghosts. If you do believe, you will. So you have to authentically believe. Step 4, I belong. You have to believe that you belong receiving psychic information and that you're not going to be burned on a cross or something. A lot of people refuse to think of themselves as belonging being psychic because they're afraid of the consequences that will come with being psychic. And so by refusing step 4, I belong, they shut off their access to step 7. Step 5 is I think. Now in the I think realm, it's important to point the I thinking process to listening. In fact, an ancient Sensei secret is, in order to open up your psychic awareness, you actually use your mind to listen to your feelings. We'll talk about that more a little bit later. Step 6, I receive. You have to be ready to open up and receive the psychic information, open up and receive what's going to come to you. In other words, you can't be afraid of receiving the truth. You can't be afraid of receiving bad news that you don't want to receive. If you can't open up to receive the truth and receive the psychic information, step 7 will not operate the way you want it to. So when you follow these steps, you finally will reach step 7, which is I sense. And once you open up the step 7 I sense state of awareness, your soul will know that yes, this is the car. Your soul will sense to go to the car auction tomorrow to get it. Your soul will sense that maybe it's a blue car. Your soul will basically sense all the important details you need in order to make your decision, which is step 8. Now you may ask, why do we listen to our feelings if we want to open up psychically? Why not listen to step 7 directly? And this opens up a major part of what step astrology is about, that it works on a quantum or addition level. When you add 2 states of awareness together, or 2 steps together, you actually get a 3rd state. So if you add step 2, I feel, to step 5, I think, you get step 7, I sense. So you can manipulate your own states of awareness by adding certain states of awareness together in kind of a mixing bowl. You'll find that you get a third one, and you'll find that you can deliberately open up that third one by mixing a couple of states. Now, this is not the 11 steps to Sirius JoY in the sense that you're going to manifest something, but you can directly connect to a state of awareness by adding them directly together. So using this mathematical formula, there are actually other ways for listening to your psychic awareness. One way is to take step 1, I love, and add it to step 6, I receive. In fact, opening up to what your heart tells you, which is what step 1 plus step 6 is literally the method we use to listen to our heart's opinion to see if whether or not our I sense spiritual claims are true. Another way of opening up to psychic awareness is 3 plus 4, or step 3, I believe, plus step 4, I belong. And that's where your spiritual truths, like from a church or from a belief structure, end up law of attracting you to the right church at the right time. And at that point, if you are, by belief, in the right place in the right time, your psychic awareness will open up. But step 3 plus step 4 is kind of difficult to do, especially if you're going to give somebody a reading. So that's why I focus as Sensei as the first approach. Step 2, I feel, and step 5, I think. The way to open up your psychic awareness is to go backwards with that algorithm and think about what you're feeling. So here are some Sensei tips to listening to your step 7 awareness from the Royal Oracle. The best approach, like I said, is to put the attention of your mind onto your feelings, or to listen to the inner baby and what the inner baby is feeling about certain things. Meditation involves quieting the mind, that's true. But what's not true is it does not involve quieting the mind from shutting the mind up. It's actually quieting the mind from giving the mind a job to do, which is to listen to what you're feeling. So the mind cannot talk because the mind is listening. So in practical sense, you want to have your mind ask your feelings a certain question, like, is this car for me? You literally ask your feelings, is this car for me? You don't ask the mind the question, you ask your feelings. So there's not going to be an answer that pops in your mind. It's first going to be a feeling that will come up. A lot of times the feeling is, or yay, or okay, like that's basically how a feeling usually comes up. And rather than analyzing that feeling, you don't want to run away and start thinking about that feeling. You want to ask the mind to ask the feeling what it's saying. So, hey, feeling, what is this feeling? What is this feeling? What is this? So you keep drilling down on what is this feeling? What is this feeling? Don't push away these feelings. Instead, go deeper. Let the feeling take you over, even if it's a bad feeling, because by submersing your awareness in the feelings, you open up to receiving that step 7. As you feel more and more, listen and observe your mind. You will find in one magical moment that something will just suddenly pop into that mind of yours. You'll know it popped into your mind because you were busy listening for something, listening to your feelings, and your mind was not constructing something to think about, it was listening. Now, it's very important that you do not judge step 6 or decide step 8 what this information is or isn't. Just like a yoga pose, you must continue to observe what comes up and pops in your mind with no reactions, no dialogue, no judgment. Almost like a fly landing on your nose, and your intention is to not wiggle your nose, but just to stay still and listen. The more you stay still and listen, the more information will come up. If you react or start thinking, step 5, or start analyzing, you will be no longer focused on your emotions and you will disconnect from your step 7 connection. This is really what I believe the Buddhists and meditation experts mean when they say quiet the mind. They don't mean quiet the gab going on in the mind. They mean quiet the mind when you start to receive psychic information. Don't say or think anything at that moment. Each time you get another feeling or you get another answer, you're going to have a feeling come up with that answer. So if you ask something about, let's say, the blue car, all right, you get a vision of a blue car and you suddenly see a blue car, but it feels weird. Don't ask, why is this car blue? Because as soon as you start dialogue with the mind, or you come up with a label like blue, you're actually shutting down your connection in your analyzing. So you don't want to ask, why is this car blue? What you do want to ask is, what is this weird feeling I'm feeling? So every time more information comes up, there's going to be a feeling attached to that information, and what you focus on is feeling that feeling more and giving your mind the blank slate to read what that feeling is. Here's another tip. When Spirit gives you a vision, Spirit is always going to use your imagination to draw the image. That means whatever pops in your head will be kind of out of your own pictorial dictionary in your mind. It'll be drawn the way you would have drawn it, probably as a little kid. It'll be smelled the way you would have thought it would smell. It'll be exactly what you would have imagined, okay? And this is where people get confused, because God does use your imagination to communicate back to you. Now, people who always criticize psychics say, oh, that's your imagination. And my answer is, of course it's my imagination. That's what's drawing all the pictures from my psychic awareness. The significant difference between creation imagination and spiritual imagination is that when it comes in psychically, you did not sit down at a desk and draw this picture. You did not think about all the things the picture needs to have in it. You will have the entire picture in spontaneous creativity, which is also known as inspiration. Now, because imagination is what God Universe uses to give you the image, some people will receive the image or the message, and then that will spark their own imagination. And from the initial first image, they go running off in their imagination and don't even realize that they have disconnected from step 7. They literally go off running away wild in their imagination. And this is why a lot of professional psychics can be off. They will see it, but then they'll run with their imagination. The trick is you have to stay focused on listening mode and do not allow yourself to run away with the idea after the session. Whatever you receive, put a step 0 boundary around it. You will not think about it. You will not run with that creatively until after the psychic moment or psychic connection. So stay in the listening mode. Don't let yourself run away with that imagination. Now, this is also the reason why after you receive psychic information, only after, and when your session is over, then you go back and check what you saw or whatever with your heart. Remember, the king or queen must independently verify the information is true. If the information is true, the heart will light up, almost like E.T. in that movie. Your heart will light up, it will glow. Sometimes you'll get goosebumps, chills, etc. Your heart or the king or queen will applaud when the psychic information is true. And I also want to point out that it's not just this step. Every step in the 11 steps of Sirius JoY must be verified by your heart and signed off by the king or queen. Absolutely every step. And this is one of the reasons why people get derailed with the things that they see. They don't go back in a separate time and space and ask their heart, does this really feel true to my heart that that's what's going to happen? And you'll find that your heart will actually give you psychic information too, because you are now connecting to your soul from the 6+1 or the step 6 plus step 1 approach. So you actually sometimes will receive a lot more information talking to your heart than you will from your step 7 I sense, and that's usually because you might have a stronger connection to your heart than you do your sensory perception. So really, to be a due diligent person and manifest correctly, you want to check both your heart and your step 7. So my friend, go and interview your Royal Oracle today. See what your Royal Oracle has to tell you about whatever it is you are manifesting or whatever change you are making. Then take separate time and space to check those visions against your heart. For big issues, I may ask a question once a day and repeat that question for several days. So I have kind of a consensus of my own interviewing of my heart and my step 7. When you come to clarity about what's right or not right in your spiritual story, you are ready for step 8. You are ready to decide. All right, my friend, that wraps up this episode, and I have no more to tell you, but I sense you'll be coming back. Until next time, remember that I love you, and to live, love, be.
Live, love, be.